Good day, everyone. Today we're going to try to kill a couple of birds with one stone. Um, get to your the 20th reason your yacht sucks. It's because your yacht is it's big and expensive looking, and it probably is going to draw pirates to you. So there's number 20. It's so big and expensive. In fact, it needs wreck insurance because, especially for a monohull, it's become required that everybody has wreck insurance because your boats are destined to become wrecks, and so they're wrecked all over the place. And places like Langkawi just can't afford to pick up your mess. So now you got to get insurance for your wreck. Um, Anyway, something we don't need because this is never sinking, and we could pick this up in a couple of wheelbarrow loads, and we'd have it all picked up in before the day's end. Uh, but piracy is a serious topic. I want to address that because I saw a bad video on it recently, and the guy just said a bunch of stuff that doesn't make any sense, and he neglected to mention your best weapon on board your boat. Well, your best weapon is your brain, but your next best weapon is gasoline. So, say for example, I'm not going to talk about all the lesser incidences of piracy because there's so many types, and generally you don't need any type of weapon to deal with it. You can just, deal with it in a sensible way because most people aren't trying to kill you and take you ransom. Very few places in the world is that ever going to happen. I never worry about piracy at all. I'm just not worried about it. Maybe if Nobi and I were sailing past Somalia, we'd be prepared. We would be, because you do have to take it seriously in a few places. But around here, not so much. We were a little concerned when we were sailing past the southern Philippines or around the Sulu Sea, and I did have a plan cooked up. But if we were really concerned about it, I'd have more of a plan cooked up. I'd have more than just one shit bucket. I'd have 3 shit buckets because those are handy when coming to my plan. So let me show what I'd first do. Say, for example, okay, we're sailing along. We're going to see them at day. We're not going to see pirates at night, and they're not going to see us either because first and foremost is you want to avoid pirates. And to do that, you turn your lights off and you turn your AIS off, which you don't necessarily need. I don't have an AIS, never have, been all over the world, have been asked about it, been threatened with fines, but at the end of the day, you don't need an AIS. You don't need one of these, what are they called, MMSI numbers. You don't need any of that. You don't need any licenses or badges to sail around the world. But if I had one, I'd turn that off, keep all my nav lights off if I'm going through pirate-infested waters, and get the move on, get all the sails up and get going. Now, say for example, it's daytime and we see a boat, a speedboat approaching us, like one of these Somali boats you see in the videos. So it's an open boat, and they're coming at you, and they probably got weapons, guns probably. First thing I do is get on the motor and turn that on because I want my speed to get up. You don't know how much gas they have. They could run out of gas at any minute, so you want to try to put distance behind you. And then I'd point this vessel into the best heading possible. We'd get the wind just right so that our speed was high. And the waves, we'd necessarily be going into it. So this would be choppy conditions for their boat, uncomfortable and not very efficient. And we might even outpace them. But certainly we'd get the run on. Now, I wouldn't threaten them in any way. I wouldn't pull a slingshot out and start shooting at them or pull a bow and arrow out and shoot. I wouldn't pull anything. In fact, if anything, I'd try to look as docile as possible. And as far as Nobi's concerned, she would stay hidden. I wouldn't want them to know how many people were on board, and I certainly wouldn't want them to know there's a beautiful young woman on board. So she would stay hidden. We'd already have most of our preparations done, but we'd need to make a few preparations, which would be like, for example, we would fill our super soaker up with some noxious chemical, probably the paint remover or fiberglass stripper or something. Of course, we'd have to oil this up and get it taped over, but this would be ready to go with a blast to the face. We'd also put some oil on and get that into a boil. We'd probably get some more of that chemical in a coffee cup sitting nearby. Nothing looking too dangerous. The spear gun we'd have out on board, cocked and ready to go. That's good for a one-time shot. But as they got closer, I would try to look disheveled. I might have my shit bucket here full of a napalm solution, gasoline and styrofoam mixed up. It'd be sitting there, and I would probably pretend I needed to take a crap as they were coming closer, like there was no avoiding it, and I was taking a crap. And as they got nearer, I would stand up and maybe like I want to do something with my crap bucket, and maybe I just set it down because they're getting closer now. And I would come over here to the edge. Please follow me, darling. I would come out here. I would pop this hatch off of Phenomenal, and I'd pull this fender out and I'd tie it on because I don't want any pirate boat scratching up the paint. So I drop that off as if I'm welcoming them to come aboard, not showing any indication that I intend to resist. And in fact, I'm not resisting. And perhaps before I'd done that, I have set up in fact, this is what I do. I'd set up my phone here. I'd have that on a selfie stick, and they would see that I have a Starlink, and I might be waving like, hey, you guys, you're on TV, man, smile. And if they were still looking violent and it wasn't that they just needed some water, you know, you never know why somebody's approaching you. You know, if they've got weapons up, of course they're gonna, you know, they've got bad intent. But maybe they don't have any weapons showing. Maybe they're approaching your boat because they've simply run out of water. They need assistance with something. So you don't want to be shooting them in the face with a shotgun, something that I don't have. You know, I'm much more taking the Batman style approach to all of this. But if I do think that they're going to wish me harm, and especially Novia, who I have to protect with my life and will protect with my life, I will reach in here and I will grab this line. Like maybe I'm going to throw them a line so that they can tie up here next to the fender. But as they get closer, I'm going to take this up. Now this is full of gasoline already and styrofoam, so it's a napalm solution here. And when they're close enough, and I'm sure I can get the full load on them and cover them in napalm, cover their clothes with this sticky gasoline substance. Or maybe, you know, maybe I don't want to bother. Maybe I felt more confident about bringing my shit bucket over to the side and like just setting it down before dumping it, because I don't want to bother pulling that out. Maybe keep that as a backup. Anyway, one way or another, I'm in the most casual fashion, I'm going to get their boat full of this gasoline napalm solution. Now, when that happens and they realize they've just been dosed in gasoline, this won't be good, right? Because they might intuit that I've got something else in mind. So as soon as I dump that napalm out, I'm going to be going for my flare gun. I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to pop a flare into their boat and set it on fire, and them on fire as well. Now, if this should not go off for some strange reason, which I can hardly imagine, you know, a dud flare, but we'll have new flares. So most likely they're on fire now, and some of them, if not all of them, are jumping into the water, but maybe one of them isn't quite flaming good enough and he decides to jump on the boat. Now at that second, I'm going to grab my battle spear. And it probably won't be this battle spear. In years past, I've had a much better battle spear, but this will do in a pinch. And this end is going to be covered in Vaseline because you don't want them taking your battle spear from you. And so I'll be stabbing them in the face and in the throat and everywhere else you can imagine. Now, if that isn't enough to deter them, or say for example my flare didn't go off, I'll jump into their boat like a devil, a Tasmanian devil, and I'll go berserk. And I'll do my best to knock them all overboard and take their boat. You know, if they have weapons, I'll grab the first weapon and I'll smash it into the person's face. I'll try to rip it away and utilize the weapon, or I'll use it as a bat and club them. But in a boat, in an open boat on the sea, bashing along, I think my chances are pretty good if I go into berserker mode. Now, while this is going on, Novi's probably thinking about what might happen to her. So she may decide at this point that she wants to either come out and assist me because I need assistance, or she might just want to defend herself because someone's gotten past me, or God forbid something horrible has happened to me, like I've been shot in the face. So she'll grab the spear gun, which is already loaded, and she'll pop one off, probably to the nuts. And if that isn't good enough, she's going to grab her super soaker full of toxic chemicals and she's going to blast her assailant in the face. Boom, splash, you're covered in nasty acid and now you're blind. If that wasn't enough, she grabs her coffee cup full of similar and chucks that on him. Now she retreats inside. She grabs her pot of boiling oil. So she comes down like this. She's got her boiling oil and splash. Not fun. Now that might not have been enough because these people are totally crazy. I think it would have been enough by now. But so she grabs her bear spray, which is handy right here. I don't see it right now, but it would be handy. And she starts blasting them. She blasts them and she blasts them. She only blasts them with her bear spray, which she's concealing in her hand because she doesn't want them to know she has any more weapons. So she wants them to get inside where a bear spray is going to be most effective and out of the wind. So now she starts blasting them. She might even have put on her goggles, you know, because she doesn't want to get it in her eyes. So maybe she's done that. And she's pretty thoughtful, especially when Novi's in a pinch. She's very good. She's very focused in a tight spot. I've seen her act in difficult conditions. She's laser focused. She's the bomb. All right then, so I think I covered everything. But again, your first strategy when dealing with pirates is to avoid them. Go fast at night, go silent, go stealthy. Yeah, so did I cover it all? What else can I say? Yeah, I'm not worried about any legal implications of what I might do to said pirates. Anything you do at sea to defend your boat is legal. You are the captain, you are a sovereign nation. Your crew is your property. You have the right to defend your property by any means. And I can get away with anything out here. I could skin the pirates alive if I wanted to and tan their skins. Make clothes out of them and put them on if I wanted to. And I might do that, you know, just to warn off any other pirates that might be coming. I could shrink their heads. You know, that's possible. If you know the right techniques. You could shrink their heads and I could put them on pikes around the boat. And I think that would warn off their friends. They'd be like, look at Jimmy. How'd your head get so small? I don't know. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on piracy. How long is this video, darling?
12 minutes.
12 minutes. Is there anything that you can think of that I should have mentioned about pirates and piracy? You know,
about your stories of...
Well, yeah, I've got a few stories about pirates, but I'll probably have to save that for another video. But I can real quickly tell you my first encounter with a pirate. It was my first night on the boat, in the water, on a lake, when I was just testing her out after I finished building her. And some teenagers swam out real stealthily while I was going to sleep in the aft cabin. I was alone on the boat. And a teenager swam out and started climbing up. I heard him and I popped out face to face with him over the traveler here. And the kid said, "Hey man, you got any beer?" And I was like, well, fuck, no, got no beer for you, buddy. Anyway, so I mean, you know, you don't have to necessarily, you know, set a boatload of pirates on fire. So all I'm saying is I think most encounters with your typical pirates, and a pirate is anybody, you know, that comes on your boat uninvited. But most, I think, don't need the barbecue factor. And you can handle it. Like, let's tell one. I don't have time to tell the story.
13 minutes.
Really? Well, one time, Novi, and this was just like 2 months ago, Novi and I were sailing up through...
Madura.
Yeah. And it was like midnight, would you say? I was
midnight
asleep.
And New Year.
Yeah, New Year. And I was asleep, and I woke up, and I could hear Novi talking nervously to somebody, and I came out to find... Because we were only anchored in 2 feet of water. And so all these teenagers had walked out, waited out, and one of them had decided it was a good idea to climb up on board. Not a good idea, man. Anyway, I was mad, and I told the kid to get right off, and maybe he just didn't understand my English very well, but he was not getting off. So I got mad, and I grabbed him, and I just heaved him off the boat. And anyway, they came back the next morning and brought food and apologized, and it all worked out great. And Novi, you could post a picture. Goodbye, everybody. Subscribe and like, please. Over.